So today someone said something that made me think about um, the former version of myself who, while pregnant with my oldest daughter, used to walk to work about a mile and some change. I remember the shoes I used to wear for the walk. I remember the $5 an hour I was making for this particular job at Kmart. Shout out to Kmart. And how I made it from that Christina to not just talking about six-figure remote jobs, but actually working six-figure remote jobs. And I'll never forget the journey. And so I want to encourage someone today, and not just encourage you, but kind of talk to you about what my thought process was back then. And in hopes that it kind of shifts what you believe to be possible for you. I don't know when it would happen. I just knew I would figure it out. I've always been a bit of a planner. For this particular endeavor, let's call it that, I didn't have a target date in mind. I didn't know exactly what steps I would take. Here's what I knew to be true. Others were doing it. There were people, and even not in the remote capacity at that point, but there were people, obviously, earning six figures. Back then, there were people earning six figures. And so in my head, it was well, why not me? That has been my perspective for so many years. Like, if they are doing it, and I consider myself to be pretty able, right? Stable mind most days, able-bodied, like, why not me? It was that perspective that kept me moving forward. It was that perspective that led me to start figuring out the mechanics, the planner in me. Like, I'm looking at the logistics. I don't know when. I just know it's possible. So now I'm starting to look at what others are doing. I'm starting to do some research, right? What's their career path? Well, I don't want to be a doctor. So let's X that out, right? What skills do they have? What degrees do they have? What certifications do they have? How long is it going to take me to get the thing or the things that I want so that I can create my own path to earning six figures? And back then, having a conversation around owning a business wasn't a thing. Before you all come for me in the comments. Having a conversation around entrepreneurship in the home in which I grew up in wasn't a thing. It just wasn't. So keep in mind, my parents worked in corporate environments. The family members that I spent the most time with either worked in corporate environments or didn't work at all, right? I didn't see anything else. But what I knew was that my parents weren't making six figures. What I knew was that there are others. So that led me to surround myself with others. How do I get in proximity to others? How do I study what it is that they're doing and what it is that they've done to get to where they are in terms of earning six figures in a corporate environment? So the other part of this that came up for me is, what if it doesn't work? What if I fail? What if I just don't have what it takes to really be that person? What if I really don't have what it takes to finish whatever degree? What if I don't have what it takes? And the thing was, let me be clear about this. I was a pretty smart person. When I graduated, I was 16 when I graduated from high school. I had to think about it for a second. I was 16 when I graduated from high school. AB honor roll, right? Pretty good student most of my life. And for whatever reason, I still had that what if. what if you're not enough? What if you're not smart enough? What if? And I started to lean into, okay, let's keep going. Yeah, it may or may not work, but we're going to keep going because we don't know if it works if we stop. We might have to pivot. We might have to pause. I'm a single mother at the time. There might be things that cause me to stop and reassess and regroup and reprioritize. But then we restart and we keep going again. Maybe it's a different school I use to pursue this education or this degree. Maybe this isn't the path in terms of my career. What else is an option? You just kind of test and pivot, right? Until you are where you desire to be. Because giving up for me wasn't an option. There was no expectation of overnight change or overnight success or success within 6 months, 12 months, 24 months. I didn't know the timeline. I just knew that what I desired was absolutely possible. And here's what I needed to do. And this is when I'm talking to folks, I talk often about focusing on what you can control. I just needed to take steps daily. I needed to figure out what those daily steps were going to be. And even if one of the daily steps was figuring out what the next daily step was going to be, take steps daily. Had a full-blown spreadsheet, y'all. My best friend and I, full-blown spreadsheets. That is how we operated. And every day we noted something that we did that day to get us closer to whatever our goal was. And really, we had multiple goals on this spreadsheet. Daily actions make a difference. When I talk about focusing on what you can control, I'm talking about the day. I'm talking about the moment. What can you control in this moment? Do that. Here's the thing. When I talk about six-figure remote jobs, I'm not talking about them in a theoretical sense. I'm talking about them from lived experience. I'm talking about it from the perspective of someone who understands that this isn't luck. This is not a cross your fingers and hope you land one. This is truly a process. And if you desire to achieve whatever the goal is that you've set for yourself, then yes, let's talk through what your process actually looks like. I think this is part of why, and I'm sharing this, but this is in part why I don't judge my clients based on where they're starting. We all start somewhere. I started somewhere, right? We all have our own journey that we need to move forward with. I know what it's like to move forward before the evidence shows up, essentially, right? You know it's possible. You think it's possible. You hear people talking about it. You just don't know what that looks like for you. I get it completely. I get it completely. Of course, feel free to put some time on my calendar. I'll pop the link below for a clarity session. If this video resonates with you, then please go ahead and like. Please go ahead and share the video with someone who may also need the same message. And then beyond that, y'all make sure on YouTube you subscribe, on other platforms, you go ahead and hit that follow button. I hope you are having a fantastic day, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon.